It is Tuesday. We are making an approach into a Florida airport on the west side of Florida, and it's a beautiful, clear day. No wind or anything. You can see forever. And so we come, and about, 15, 20 miles out, we can see the airport. Captain's turn to fly, so he's flying the airplane. He tells the co-pilot, call the tower and tell him we have the airport in sight. So he does, and the tower comes back and said, great, if you've got the airport in sight, you're cleared for the visual approach. Yes, this is flying like it's supposed to be. Any pilots in here? Not a one. Oh, we got pilots, okay. So we got it cleared for the visual approach. And it's just like being a student pilot. So here we come 45 degrees towards the runway. The runway, let's make the runway right here. Okay, this is the runway, and we're going to come down and land this way. So we come in flying, and this is called entering the downwind. We turn like this, and now we're flying opposite. If you're on the right side of the airplane, you can see the airport. There it is. That's where we're going to land. We're flying the wrong direction. I'm just about done with my work by the time we get to the downwind. Not much left for me to do. I'm closing out my log, and I've got my head down, and all of a sudden I notice that we have started the bank to the base leg. That's to turn to fly over to the thing. And I'm thinking, man, I missed something here because I haven't heard the engines come back. I haven't heard the flaps go out. We haven't got the gear down. We got nothing ready to land, and we are moving really fast, and I'm thinking, whoa, and I look outside the window and my thoughts are confirmed. If I'd have been flying this airplane, which I think is a big airplane, I'd have gone maybe 5 miles further down. Now, it's not that I haven't made landings like this guy's trying, but we did it in F4s, and that's a little different. So here he goes. He enters the base or heads over to the base. And about here, he figures out, whoa, and he starts dumping everything he can out of this airplane. The gear come down, the flaps and slats go out, the engines come back to idle, and we are holding this bank. We are going so fast, though, we never leveled on the base leg. What you're supposed to do is level here and then fly. No, 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 no. We just hold this, and we go screaming right through the runway heading. And we just hold the bank, and we come back this way. And we go through the runway heading this way. And so we come back this way, and finally, after all this left and right stuff, we finally get the nose lined up with the runway. Okay? At this point, we are real high. And the key word here is real high. But we got an old Air Force pilot, and he believes, by God, if you can see that runway, you ought to be able to land on it. And so now, lined up with the runway, but real high, real fast, and short now, he does something that probably none of you have experienced this close to the ground. He pushes the control yoke forward, and this plane pivots. Now, at this point, there are 3 clues that tell me things are getting wild and scary. First of all, I'm used to looking over the captain's shoulders. I sit in the observer seat. I'm used to looking over the captain's shoulders and looking for those numbers at the end of the runway, about 1/8 of the way up the windscreen. That's a normal approach. These numbers are halfway up the windscreen. The numbers didn't jump up. The nose has gone down. That's the first clue. Second, I am now, being a good psychologist, learning to pay attention to my own body for cues. I notice I am not sitting in my seat anymore. I am hanging in my shoulder harnesses. I don't know what's going on back in the cabin, but if they're not buckled in, they're in the overhead bins. Because we have unweighted the airplane. This is not good. Number 3, the Boeing company has decided things are getting out of control too, and every alarm in the cockpit, I think, starts going off. We got buzzers, bells, whistles, dingers, chimes, the whole thing going off, and my all-time favorite alarm comes on. This is called a varsity alarm. It's the GPWS. Anybody know what that stands for? GPWS. Ground Proximity Warning System. Can you put those 4 words together? That's why it's a varsity alarm. They don't want you to miss this one. It's the loudest alarm in the cockpit, and it has 2 parts, so you can't miss it that way. Here it is. Here we are, hanging in our shoulder straps, nose down, and this comes on. Whoop, 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 whoop. Pull up, pull up. Now that's fairly clear. But not old Air Force captain. Here he comes screaming down. Now he knows he's made a horrible approach, so he flares it out. We got no power. We got everything we can hang off this airplane hanging out, trying to slow it down. We got way too much airspeed. We are lined up with the center line of the runway, which is the only good thing now, and the nose is up, and we have leveled. And we are going down the runway. We are not on the runway. We are parallel to the earth at a high rate of speed with the nose up. You can't put the nose down. You can't land on the nose wheel, so we got nothing else to do. We are just going parallel to the earth over the runway. And about halfway down, I notice a phenomena that I am engaging in, and I look around and I notice the other 3 guys in the cockpit are doing the same thing. Now, I have to tell you, this is a phenomenon that I am sure I did not invent. I'm pretty confident Orville and Wilbur Wright engaged in this behavior, but I think I named it. So I get a little credit here. I noticed that about halfway down this runway, we are all engaged in this maneuver, which I refer to as butt puckering. We have our little gluteus maximuses locked up and tight. And I believe that psychologically the reason for this is if you think you can just pucker up tight enough, you can suck the airplane down to the ground. And it worked. The main gear touchdown, the nose drops over, the speed brakes come in, the thrust reversers come in. We are thundering down, not much left of the runway, trying to get this thing slowed up. 2,000 foot remaining, right on by. 1,000 foot remaining, last taxiway. We are out on the overrun when we finally get this thing stopped. We got hot brakes, we got hot engines, but we are stopped. What do you think the level of casual conversation in this cockpit? That's it. So you've all been there. You've been in the room where the leaders made a mistake and everybody knows it, but nobody wants to talk about it, right? That's where we all are. So now we have to turn the plane on the overrun, which isn't easy, get it turned. And by the way, as we swing the nose of the airplane, we can now see the tower for the first time. Every pair of binoculars in the tower is on us. I can just see what those guys are saying. What the hell was that just went by? We taxi back in, we come up to the gate, we run the shutdown checklist. Nobody has said one word. Last item on the shutdown checklist, everybody's 5-way seatbelt unsnaps at the same time. We are out of there. And at this point, the captain says, hold on a minute, guys. I know I just flew an absolutely terrible approach, but I'd like to go around the cockpit and have every one of you tell me something you can do next time so we don't make that mistake again. What did Walt have you do every time you did an exercise? That's what real good leaders do. They create an environment for learning. Not blame. Let's learn and get the word out. So he did. He turned to every person in the cockpit. And so I have to tell you this. I made a terrible, embarrassing mistake. He turned to me and he said, Robert, what about you? And I said, no. I'm just the guy from NASA here and I'm not supposed to interfere. He says, yes, I know, and I appreciate you not saying anything, especially when all those alarms were going off. But he says, I also know you're a pilot and I know you know a lot about teams. Maybe you saw something that can help you. There you go. Create an environment for learning. Everybody can help us learn. Customers, clients, there's lots of people out there. Just open up to them. They will be happy to do this. So I think, okay, I got to come up with something. And without really thinking through this, I said, well, here's something. The engineer, and then I looked over, it's this 28-year-old kid. And I'm just about to throw him under the bus, I think. I said, well, the engineer, normally when we get down to about 300 feet, he looks at the radio altimeter and he starts calling out those altitudes in 50-foot increments. So he'll go 300, 250, 200. So I said, I don't know. I didn't hear that. Maybe I got lost in all these alarms, and he really did, but I just didn't hear that. And the kid turns a great answer. He turns to the captain. He says, Captain, he's absolutely right. I knew I was supposed to be doing that, and I didn't. But he said, to tell you the truth, Captain, I'd never seen a landing like that before.